What's the best part of your day?
Oh, my baby's awake. Let's take a walk. My baby Jill.
Heartwarming moments are nurtured with Maxime Elite. Give Max love for the best moments with your best friend. Nurture heartwarming moments with Maxime Elite. What's the best part of your day?
Ready, Jack? Great catch.
Playtime is more fun with Maxime. Have Max fun for the best moments with your best friends. Unleash the fun together with Maxime. What's the best part of your day?
Oh, my baby's awake. Let's take a walk. My baby Jill.
Heartwarming moments are nurtured with Maxime Elite. Give Max love for the best moments with your best friend. Nurture heartwarming moments with Maxime Elite. What's the best part of your day?
Ready, Jack? Great catch.
Playtime is more fun with Maxime. Have Max fun for the best moments with your best friends. Unleash the fun together with Maxime. What's the best part of your day?
Oh, my baby's awake. Let's take a walk. My baby Jill.
Heartwarming moments are nurtured with Maxime Elite. Give Max love for the best moments with your best friend. Nurture heartwarming moments with Maxime Elite. What's the best part of your day?
Ready, Jack? Great catch.
Playtime is more fun with Maxime. Have Max fun for the best moments with your best friends. Unleash the fun together with Maxime. What's the best part of your day?
Oh, my baby's awake. Let's take a walk. My baby Jill.
Heartwarming moments are nurtured with Maxime Elite. Give Max love for the best moments with your best friend. Nurture heartwarming moments with Maxime Elite. What's the best part of your day?
Ready, Jack? Great catch.
Playtime is more fun with Maxime. Have Max fun for the best moments with your best friends. Unleash the fun together with Maxime. The best part of my day is playing catch with my buddy Jack.
The best part of my day are memorable cuddly moments with my baby Jill.
The best moments are created when you give your best friend the proper nourishment and care. Maxime is fortified with essential nutrients so that your pet stays happy, active, tough, and smart.
Max the fun. Max the love.
Great catch.
Live the best life together with Maxime.
Hi guys and good afternoon everyone. Okay, ito na po yung inaabangan natin. It's a long time no see sa inyong lahat. Of course, ngayong hapon, kasama natin ang isang merchandise expert, si Mr. Xavier Victor Gerard P. Medina, di ba haba ng pangalan niya. And i-relate niya sa inyo kung paano mas mai-improve ang inyong merchandising skills or ang inyong mga madadagdagan pa ang inyong kaalaman kung paano better may di-display ang inyong mga paninda sa inyong stores or sa inyong clinics. So, let's welcome him, guys. Siyempre, a round of applause sana para sa ating merchandise expert. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Xavier Victor Gerard P. Medina. Good afternoon, Save!
Hello, good afternoon, Sue. Good
Hi there. Ayan. So, Save, why don't you tell them a little something about yourself before we start?
All right. Okay. Well, right now I'm an entrepreneur. So I do some businesses, build startup businesses. So that's what's currently keeping me busy. So during the pandemic, we built several businesses to try it out, both online and physically. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm very excited to actually share with everyone what I've implemented in my business and as well as things that I've learned in my almost 17 years of corporate experience.
All right. Okay, I guess I'll turn you over, guys, to Sir Xavier. And ayan, enjoy our talk for this afternoon. See you later for the Q&A.
All right. All right. Can everyone see my slide? Let's just wait for my slide to load up. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. And this afternoon, I will be discussing with you the importance of merchandise management. So I'm very excited and very happy to share with you everything that about merchandising, both for planning and implementation. But of course, before anything else, I would like to further introduce myself. I would like to share my background and credentials. So before we proceed with the discussion and sharing, okay? Next slide, please. All right. So as mentioned a while ago, I'm currently an entrepreneur right now. I've created several startup businesses. One this year and one last year. Both are online, but two different industries. The first of which, maybe some of you might have seen this brand in social media. It's called Cruise Fit. This is an sports apparel business. So during pandemic in 2021, we actually conceptualized Cruise Fitness apparel brand. So this one would actually try to inspire, okay, a lot of people because the brand is actually based on a celebrity fitness enthusiast. So this brand aims to further extend his influence in terms of fitness and health. So that's what I'm busy about right now. The other one that I recently built is the Chef Deli. So this is more of a frozen product, okay? But then this one focuses on retailing and distribution. Okay. Next slide, please. All right. Like what I mentioned, I have over 17 years of experience that I would like to share with everyone. I was part, so just sharing my credentials, I was part of several multinational brands. Some of you, of course, would be familiar with Adidas, and Mizuno, as well as Levi's footwear. So with these brands, I was handling primarily the side product marketing or retail marketing, focusing on how to properly merchandise as well as planning what products to actually sell in the stores or what products to be brought in here, particularly in the Philippines from the Southeast Asia region. So as you can see, that is what I was doing when I was with these brands. And these are the things that I would like to impart to everyone and share this knowledge on how do we actually choose the right products for our stores. I'm sure there are a lot of products out there, and we just have, of course, we cannot range or we cannot carry all the products, so we need to narrow it down. But how? So that is the big question that will be answered later on. Okay. So next, please. All right. So most probably, for those of you attending this talk, so these are the common questions that might have arisen while attending this talk. So these are the questions that the common questions that might arise. How do you handle your merchandise? How do you arrange your merchandise or the things that you sell in your stores? Should there be a particular order in terms of displaying, in terms of arranging the products in stores? Is there a particular order? Yes, there is. And merchandise is actually an art, and at the same time, it's a science. So later on, we will dwell on this in deep. Okay. Number three, how much merchandise should you need, or how much merchandise should you actually stock for your store? Yes, there is a science also. Later on, I'll be sharing some tips and, of course, things on how to actually compute for your stocks, how much amount of products that you should be bringing in into your store. Okay. Number 4, are there financial considerations on the items you should get for your store? Should there be a proper budgeting? Of course, budget is a big consideration when it comes to ranging your products or choosing the right items for your store. Very, very important. So later on, we will be tackling that as well. And of course, number 5, should you put your merchandise in categories or groups? Example, pet foods, pet toys, accessories. Yes, very important that our store is organized. Later on, we'll be discussing more on the categories. We will be discussing how we could organize and arrange our store in such a way our customers would have an easy time to actually shop in our store. All right. I'm sure everyone is excited for me to share more tips about merchandising. So let's go on to our agenda for this afternoon. Next slide, please. So number 1, before I share tips with everyone, it is important that we define what is merchandise management. It is important that we understand what exactly is merchandise management. So later on, we will be defining merchandise management. And then 2 parts that I will be discussing this afternoon. Number 1 is actually merchandise planning, which is on the planning side, and of course the implementation side, which is as you can see in the agenda, merchandise implementation. Okay, so let's break it down further. Merchandise planning. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts under merchandise planning. Number 1 is product ranging. So under this section, I'll be discussing some tips and how to properly merchandise or how to properly range your product, meaning what are the products that I should choose or what products should I consider putting into my list of products to be sold in my store. Okay, so basically when you say product ranging, you consider items that will be part of your merchandise, your overall store. So there are a lot of reasons for picking a particular product. So later on, we'll be discussing that one. It will depend on your objective, on the story of your store, in terms of profit, in terms of margin, etc. Number 2, like what I mentioned a while ago, there is a capacity. Okay, you also have to consider store capacity when doing your product range. Of course, if your capacity is, like for example, 100 units of product ABC, you cannot range more than 100 units. So you have to know your store capacity. You have to know how much products that you could bring in store inside your store. So later on, we will be discussing that as well. Then number 3 is forecasting. Okay, you need to know also. We need to plan ahead. We need to know how much items to order, and that will be discussed under forecasting. And last, under planning is of course merchandise pricing. Again, this will all depend on your objective. If your objective, for example, is to earn at least 20% profit, then we have to adjust your pricing or your margin file accordingly. So that will also depend on the products that we will be getting. We cannot just make a markup because I believe these products would have certain SRPs and we have to work within those SRPs. They have certain discount schemes for every item. Not all items would have a uniform discount. Okay? For example, product A would have 20% discount, product B would have probably 30%, and so on. So it would differ on a per item basis. So we have to plan that out also. Okay, now in terms of merchandise implementation, very important that I share with you what is the importance of visual merchandising. Okay, well, some would actually say that, okay, let's just display the products and let's just display it. No, there is also a science to it, and at the same time, it's an art, like what I mentioned a while ago. So later on, I'll be discussing what is the importance of visual merchandising. Second, what are the elements of implementing the merchandising? Okay. Then I'll also be discussing the sales floor layout. What are the different types of floor layout? This would have a big impact on your store also, especially on your customers' store experience. Okay. So again, depending on the objective, we would implement different sales floor layout. So later on, I'll be sharing these tips. Okay. Next, we have the store design and product presentation, how we display them inside the store. We have different types of displays. And of course, last but not the least, I'll be sharing ways on how to create effective displays. All right. Next slide, please. All right. What is merchandise management? Okay, please allow me to read the definition of merchandise management. Merchandise management is the process through which each retailer decides what items to carry. Like what I mentioned, we will need to discuss what items are to be brought inside your stores. We cannot range everything. Okay, we need to choose the right products depending on your planning, depending on the marketing objective, depending on your sales objective, or even your financial objective. Okay. Next, how much to have on hand? Yes, later on we will be discussing how, of course, there are budget constraints to be considered. Okay, where they should be displayed in the store. As mentioned a while ago, there are certain ways on how to display the items such that you get to maximize, okay, your profitability inside the store. And of course, how they sell should be priced to sell the best and of course to maximize the profit. So again, there are certain ways on how to display to maximize your profits. There are certain strategies, whether to put a certain item in front of your store, at the back of your store, in the middle of your store, etc. So later on, we will be discussing those also. Okay. Next slide, please. All right. So merchandise planning, okay. This is the first part. Very, very important that we do our planning before we implement anything. Okay, number one, as mentioned, we need to identify, okay, we need to identify our brand or product objective. Okay, when we say identify our objective, it means, okay, what is our margin objective? This is an example of an objective. Can we target 20% margin for our overall products that we sell? Okay. So later on, I'll be showing some examples regarding that. Or should you want to say, okay, I want to target at least 200,000 worth of sales every month. That is my objective. Or maybe on the marketing side, I would like to highlight this slow moving item because I have a lot of stocks. So that could be an objective also. Or you could actually highlight some items that are fast moving, or you want to flush out because they're old products already. So there are a lot of objectives that we could consider when creating our plan for merchandising. Okay. Number two, Products chosen will play a big role in the image of your brand or business. Okay, what do I mean by this? So, for example, you choose if you want your image to be a little bit of the premium side. Of course, you don't want to sell cheap items. Or pwede rin namang may cheap items, but then majority of your items being sold in the store is on the premium side. Because take note, every product would actually contribute to the image or story that you would like to tell about your store or about your business or about your brand. So very important that we choose our products well because this will actually dictate the image of your store. Okay. In the same manner, when we choose the products, okay, again, it would depend on how you want people to see your store. Okay. Next, product details like historical sales performance, packaging design, and price are important in product selection. So later on, we will be discussing that. We'll be giving more tips on how to approach this one so that you'll be able to plan your assortment better. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about product ranging. Okay, so right now, you have to choose the right categories and products based on overall objective. That's what I've been mentioning since a while ago. Historical performance. So you have to check, okay, if a certain product that you will be choosing was performing historically for your store. So that's one basis also. Take for example, product ABC. Okay, will I order the same product next season or not? You have to check historically. Is it selling? Is it not selling? Is it just right? So you have to take into account whether that particular product is actually selling or not. And of course, potential performance. For example, you see a certain product, okay, and based on your market research, based on trends, you think that this particular item will be moving, or this is the next big trend, next big thing. Okay. Now, of course, you have to have it in your product assortment. And last but not the least is your budget. Okay. In your screen, you will see OTB. What does it mean? It means open to buy, meaning that is your budget. Okay, you cannot exceed more than the budget that you have in terms of buying products or ranging products for your store. And lastly, you need to outline the categories and products to be included in the lineup. Okay, how do we do that? And like what I mentioned, your products, your categories would play a major role in terms of telling the entire image of your store. Very important that you choose the right categories for your store. Case in point, okay, where I used to work before in Adidas, you will probably find some stores that would carry certain categories, and some stores other categories. Like for example, branch one would actually carry basketball, running, football, and some branch two would actually carry training categories and not the other categories. Why? Because branch one would like to focus on the main sport, which is basketball and probably running. And then the other branch would like to focus on just training and not on the main sport. So again, it depends on your overall objective. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so just to give you an example on how to actually outline your merchandise, this is what I used to do when I do product ranging for Adidas before. To give me an idea, I try to cluster um, all the items together to form what you call collections. One for men's, and for women. So I would provide them with short sleeve tee. We have the singlet, we have the sleeveless, the shorts, and of course, different choices for your footwear. Same goes for the women. So the essence here is to actually, for you to be able to visualize what categories would tell the story of your brand. Okay, next slide, please. In this next slide, you will actually see how it would look like for your industry, which is the pet retail industry. So in this one, when you create your range, your categories, probably you will have a dog category. So under dog category, you have different subclusters as well. You can have your cat category. So that's how you actually begin choosing your products through your categories. Choose first what categories you want to be considered inside your store. Okay, case in point, a while ago in my example, some branches would carry basketball, some branches would just carry running. In the same manner in your industry, okay, you want to focus on the dog and cat category. Okay, maybe in your neighborhood would actually have more people are dog lovers and cat lovers, or maybe you just like to focus on, like for example, a bird category or fish category. So it depends. Okay, again, this is do your research. What kind of story would you like to tell your audience? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, product considerations. Before you make a product range, of course, you have to consider a lot of things. You cannot just choose any product. Okay, gusto ko to dahil makulay. I think this will profit me well. I'll take this one. Okay, there again, there is a science behind choosing products. And these are considerations that I'm sharing with you so that you'd be able to choose the products wisely. Okay, number one, you have to choose products based on the category that you have chosen. Okay, so you cannot choose a product that is outside the category that you have built or outlined for your store. And make sure all items have a category. So in my next slide, I will show to you, okay, na you've chosen a lot of products and then there's one particular product that has a missing category. So even if you like that product so much to be inside your store, but it is the single item that without a category, well, sad to say, you have to take it out. Okay. Next, ideally, you have to give customers at least 2 to 3 variants per item. Okay. So why? What is the reason behind that one? Okay. We do not like to push an item to a customer. Kasi if it's just one item, okay, you have no choice, okay? Parang, okay, I have no choice. What will I buy then? Diba? We want to give options to our customers. It's like saying we are giving them the power to actually choose. Okay? Diba sila, customers always right, sila ba susunod? So, they like that feeling actually. Okay. So, yun, mas maganda siya na mas maganda siya na merong option tayo for our customers. At least 2, 3, depending on what is available in the assortment. And number 3, of course, we have to eliminate products that are or that can cannibalize other items. Anong ibig kong sabihin dito? For example, in my industry before, if I consider one item priced at, say, example, 3,995, and my other item na gusto kong i-range at 4,295, okay, medyo magkalapit sila, di ba? 300 peso difference. So ngayon, instead of kikita ka ng mas malaki at 4,295, people might just choose the 3,995. Okay, medyo magkalapit eh. Ay, konti lang pala. Piliin ko na lang yung mas mura. So nabawasan ka ng sales. So what I'm trying to say, try to eliminate products that are medyo magkalapit in terms of price, or magkalapit in terms of function, or magkalapit in terms of color, etc. So better na iba-iba yung mga items para may choice sila. Okay? Next slide please. Okay, in this slide you can see, like what I mentioned, meron tayong dog products under the dog category. You have cat products under the cat category. Now, may naliligaw na isang product, okay, which is yung bird. This is a bird product, okay. But based on your planning, hindi ka naman naglagay ng bird category. So, might as well, two things, okay. Number one, it's either tanggalin mo yung bird product or you build that category. If you really want to have a bird category in your range, then you have to build. You cannot range na isang product lang. Okay, again, like what I mentioned kanina, you have to give an option to your customers. Okay, next slide please. Okay, another consideration that you have to put in mind is that there are roles for the products. Okay, may kanya-kanyang roles ang product. Okay, be items that are ranged or considered para maging brand image siya, kasi nga ito yung image ng tindahan mo. Ito yung gusto mo medyo premium or gusto mo medyo affordable yung image mo, so it depends. So you have that particular product that you will be putting inside your store to drive that image, not necessarily to earn profit, okay, but to drive the image, okay. And there are products that would actually drive volume to your store. Okay, so case in point, if you can see my slide right now, since the image of Adidas is of course medyo premium siya, the items on top, okay, these are brand image drivers. So meaning, okay, ito yung mga nakikita mo sa social media, sa billboard, sa advertisements nila, they communicate itong mga products na to. And of course, tayo, naengganyo tayo, we want to check it out, we want to go to the store just to take a look at the product. Now, when we are inside the store already, okay, siyempre titignan mo yung product na nakita mo sa ads. Hahawakan mo, titignan mo, but then you realize, ay, mahal pala. But of course, before you get to leave the store, okay, there are products that are not expensive, and these are the products at the bottom. You will see ito yung mga basic footwear, mga basic colors, mas mura siya compared to your premium products. So, at the end of the day, you're able to communicate your premium, but then, may mga na hindi kayang bumili, bibili na lang sila ng mas mura. Okay. But then, paglabas nila ng store, okay, suit nila yung Adidas, diba? Hindi naman lahat ng tao alam na, okay, binili niya yung murang product. Adidas is Adidas. In the same manner, if that's a strategy that you want to communicate, okay, you could achieve that as well. So you have brand image drivers, you have volume drivers, you just have to identify what would be the role of that product inside your store. Next slide, please. Okay, in this next slide, you will see the application of the pet foods to the pet products of what I just discussed. Okay, as you can see, okay, ang ganda nung merchandising niya. Okay, later on you will be learning the vertical strategy from top to bottom. You have to be displaying in such a manner you will see from afar na bold colors. Okay, asymmetric siya. Okay? Maganda tignan. Kasi from afar, okay, you will see these products would call the attention of your customers. Okay? Siyempre, pagpasok mo ng store, pagpasok mo ng tindahan, makita mo from afar, oy, ang ganda niyan, puro all blue or all white or all pink, etc. 'Di ba? Hindi mo naman makikita yan in detail eh. So, what your display would do is to actually attract them and call them towards the wall. Pupunta ka ng mas malapit dun sa wall to check out the products further. And that is the reason why we do this kind of strategy. Okay? You do blocking for your either colors, either for certain items that look nice on your wall. Okay? But ideally, in a fast-moving consumer goods, since this is a consumer item, ideally, you actually put your big items, kunwari yung mga 25, tama ba? 25 kilo dog food, for example, one sack of dog food or cat food, ideally, you put them at the bottom. Okay, big items are at the bottom, syempre kasi mabigat. And your small SKU. Okay, guys, I have to teach you this one. The term SKU, stock keeping unit, you will hear that term a lot, especially in merchandising. Okay, small SKUs or small items are on top of the shelf. Okay, the topmost. And at the middle, okay, ideally at the middle or your eye level, na tinatawag nating eye level, is where you will put your fast-moving items. Okay, so that's how you properly merchandise strategically. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, in the next slide, okay, we have other considerations that you have to take into account. Okay, well, before I discuss display considerations, I'd like to note also that, like what I mentioned, you have to historical performance and marketing activities related to a certain product. Okay, now when choosing a certain product from, of course, from your main principal or your supplier, you can actually ask whether this particular item has been doing well for the past quarter, past year, what is the performance historically. But of course, it doesn't mean that if it's very slow moving, it doesn't mean that you won't range it, because as mentioned a while ago, you still have to consider items that are flashy in terms of packaging, in terms of design. Although hindi siya gumagalaw masyado, you still have to range because kailangan mong maganda ang storya mo sa tindahan. Maganda ang storya mo when you talk about the products inside the store. Case in point, if you can see my image in my PowerPoint slide, you will see that a lot of orange colors ng sapatos. Okay? Historically, hindi yan masyadong gumagalaw because of the color. Hindi siya masyadong, mahirap siyang bagayan, kumbaga. Okay? Bakit pa rin natin siya dinidisplay? Bakit ang dami nang nakadisplay? Okay. Number one, again, the reason strategically is to attract your customers sa wall. You need to have a good attraction towards your wall so that they would go there, and that would be the point of sale. Kasi kailangan makahawakan nila yung product, kailangan makita nila yung detalye, and doon sila mas susceptible to buy the product. Now, kung hindi sila attracted to the wall, okay, yung chances of you selling a product are actually low. Diba? So, having said that one, if you can see, one of the considerations is display. Okay. So, aside from the fact na fast-moving yung item na yon, pag bibili ka or i-arrange mo yung product, you have to take note also. Is it visually appealing itong mga items na to? Pag pinagsama-sama ko ba to sa shelf ko, pag pinagsama-sama ko ba to sa counter, maganda ba siya tignan? Okay. You have to plan like that. Okay? Di ba kanina meron ako slide na nandun lahat ng mga items? It's because for me to be able to visualize how it would look like. I know it's tedious to do, medyo mahirap gawin, but then planning something like that would help you a lot. Okay, and number three, pricing considerations. Okay, very important. Sorry, can we go back one slide? Very important kasi that we have a full assortment of items. So okay, one slide back, please. Very important that we have a full offering of items. So, yan. If you would take a look, okay, hindi lahat ng customer can afford, for example, a 3,500 product for dog food, for example. Okay? Some would have a small amount lang, or for example, yung sa cat food. Dog food, yes. 1,900 yung pinakamahal. Okay? Paano kung hindi nila kaya yun? Wala sila cash na dala. So, pahayaan na lang ba natin na tinignan lang yung product and then lumabas na sila? Of course not. Okay? Once pumasok yan sa store, okay, you have to take into consideration that they are actually planning to buy. Okay? Nandun na eh. All you have to do is actually convince them. And of course, dapat tama yung display, tama yung offering natin, tama ang pricing. And in this section, yun nga, if hindi nila kaya yan, of course, you have the 485 peso product. Or pag medyo may budget pa ng konti, gusto nilang maging efficient, ayan, pwede yung 1,485. So in essence, you have high price, you have the middle, and you have the small budget items. Okay. Next two slides, please. All right. So this is just to illustrate further what I've been talking about in terms of display. As you can see, color coordinated yung mga items na nasa taas because these are your brand image drivers. Ito yung mga, kumbaga, ito yung mga mahal na items that would contain all the features of your running footwear or rubber shoes. Pero may option ka. Okay? May option ka na yung mga nasa baba, mas murang item, pero Adidas pa rin. In the same manner, in the example a while ago, it's the same brand pa din, but of course, cheaper version. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now that we have identified how to choose the products, we were supposed to create categories, we're supposed to create, choose the products historically, we have to consider that, etc. Now, it's time for us to consider the store capacity. Okay. Like what I mentioned a while ago, very important that we range products na within our capacity. Okay. Example, if our products is say can fit only 100 units, you cannot range products that are more than 100, say 150 units, diba? So dapat pasok tayo. And how do we do that? Okay, initially we could actually estimate that one. How? Okay, we can check our shelves. We can check our fixtures inside the store. Ilan ba ang pwede nating i-display? Okay, for example, bilangin mo, ilan ang kasya sa shelves mo? Sa harap, ilang facing, ilan ang lalim, ilang products yon. So malalaman mo na kung ilang products ang kasya sa shelves mo. And then multiply that with the number of modules that you have. Ilang modules or fixtures ba meron ka? So yun palang malalaman mo na kung ilang products. I'll give an example in a while. Okay? How many products, okay, how many items can my storage take? Very important also to take into account your storage area. Okay. I see a lot of pet stores wherein they put all the merchandise inside the selling area. You have to take in consideration yung proper display and proper storage. So important that you have a storage area, and you need to know also the capacity of your storage area because kailangan natin siyang take into account when we do forecasting and ordering how much to order kasi yan of the those are one of the questions that we need to answer, di ba? As mentioned a while ago. So to of course to store capacity can also determine or estimate your sales potential. Okay, very important. Okay, magkano ba ang maibebenta ko? How do I do planning? Okay, store capacity is also one of the factors that you can consider when you do sales forecasting. Next slide, please. Okay. Very important kasi yun. Okay. In the next slide that I'll be showing you, okay, this will help you compute or how to compute for your store capacity. Okay. So for example, if this is the first time that you will be doing, you can estimate the size of each product. Okay. Each product probably would siguro measure 10 cm, for example, and then you can measure your shelf. Okay, and then you can divide that equally. So in this slide, you will see that top shelf, it can contain 5 products per category. And then per facing, that's what you call product facing. So merong 5 yan, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then yung depth niya, meaning yung lalim, bawat face can contain at least 10. Okay? So that's 10 times 5. So that's 50 already. Okay? Sa kabila naman, ganun din. Okay, next level, you will see that mas malaki siya. So yung facing niya can only have 4 facings. And then yung lalim niya, you can only display 8. So a total of 32. Sa baba naman, ganun din. Dahil malaki siya, you have 3 facings and 5 lang yung lalim niya. So that's a total of 15. So there you go. Meron ka ng store capacity, well, in terms of yung one shelf mo, then you'll just multiply this with the number of fixtures that you have. Okay, at the onset, understandably, hindi mo mapaperfect yung store capacity mo, especially pag sa umpisa. As you go along, okay, you get to adjust, mapaperfect mo kung ano yung totoong store capacity mo. So, you keep on improving, you keep on adjusting na lang eventually do sa store capacity mo. So, next slide, please. So, yun nga, pag na-perfect natin yung store capacity mo, that will bring us to the next point, which is forecasting. Okay? Very important yung forecasting. You have to take note forecasting. Why? Because sales target and store capacity will determine the overall amount of merchandise you should store inside your tindahan, di ba? While margin target will determine the amount of each product you should store. Interesting to. Why? Because top line, meaning yung presyo ng items mo times the number of products na kasya sa store mo. So ideally, ito yung potential na sales na pwede mong makuha. But then again, you have to take note of the margin. Kasi pwedeng lahat ng items na nakuha mo ay 20% margin, then 20% margin lang yung overall sa business mo. But then if you choose rightly on products, or you choose more products of the higher margin, for example, 20 items ang kinuha mo na 20%, tapos kinuha mo ay for 30% ay siguro 10, tapos yung 50% na margin, probably 10 more. Obviously, your margin, kasi mag-average out yan, yung margin mo, lalaki. Now, pag binawasan mo yung items na mababa ang margin, liliit din yung margin mo. Okay, I'll show you an example. Next slide, please. So, in my next example, I'll be showing you what I illustrated or discussed a while ago. So just to give you an overall picture, okay, your total capacity for your shelf, example, top shelf, you have 50 pieces. How? You have 5 faces times the depth of 10, that's 50. Okay, so your top shelf for the other category is the same. For mid-shelf, it's at 32 bawat side and 15 bawat side naman para dun sa bottom shelf. So, please take in mind itong mga numbers na to. Well, I'll make a rough computation in my next slide. Next slide please. Okay, so in my next slide, I'll give you a rough computation just to illustrate, okay, paano tayo magkakaroon ng forecast. Okay, example. Okay, yung store capacity mo, okay, especially if you're ordering for the first time, okay, how much product should I order? Of course, you can only order maximum is yung store capacity mo, di ba? So for example, in this case, yung first product, yung first shelf of both categories 50 each, okay? Merong presyo na naka-indicate dyan. Okay, second, yung 32, okay, for both categories, 32 pieces or bawat side. So time multiplied by the SRP, okay? Now your product at the bottom, 15 each per side. So times the times the SRP or your suggested retail price. That would give you a rough computation. In this example, on this particular shelf alone, can generate 342,000 worth of sales. So ngayon, alam mo na magkano yung potential na product, di ba? Na benta mo, rather. So you can build this data as you go along. Like what I mentioned kanina, hindi mo ito ma-prepare ng isang upuan. Okay? So as you go along, matututunan mo siya, you apply accordingly. Okay? And take note, of course, when you have a store capacity of 342, don't expect your sales to be 342 also. Kasi imposible naman na, di ba, aantayin mo bang maubos yung buong tindahan mo, di ba? Hindi naman mangyayari yung ganun. So, only a portion of the 342, but then later on, I will be discussing yung replenishment. Okay? Pag depende sa lead time ng supplier mo, nandun yung replenishment factored in when you do your forecasting. But for simplicity, para maintindihan nyo muna, okay, in terms of sales, of course, ang sales mo, do not expect you can go beyond 342. This is assuming na wala pa yung replenishment. Kasi hindi mo naman aantayin yung buong hindi naman mauubos yan lahat ng produkto mo in one season. Okay. Sige. So, let's move forward. Okay, next slide please. Okay. So, yan. Like what I mentioned, this is a scenario. Sales target is higher than capacity. Of course, we cannot reach our sales target with current stocks. You have to rethink about your sales target. So, it's either you lower your sales target within the capacity or, of course, choose other products with higher prices to meet desired sales number. So, you choose certain products, you build your forecast based on that. And of course, another option is, of course, increase your store capacity. Pwede kayo mag-expand to another store already if your sales is or if your sales target is higher. Next slide, please. So, I'd like to stress out also in terms of forecasting. Okay, if it's a new item, again, you could find a similar item of that product and see how it was performing before. So more or less, it will give you a gauge that this product will perform the same. Or you can over forecast if you think there is a potential of that product, again based on market trend. Tingin mo ito yung trend na pupuntahan ng mga produkto ngayon, then over forecast. Okay, next slide please. In my next slide, let's talk about sales margin. Okay, you check for the overall margin based on your sales forecast. In my slide, you will see meron akong different assortments. And like what I mentioned a while ago, the more products that have higher margin, of course, overall, tataas yung margin mo. Now, if binawasan mo yung mga items mo na mababa mataas ang margin, obviously, your margin would actually go down. So that would determine kung babawasan ko ba yung isang product na to or dadagdagan ko to isang product na to. Depende sa target margins mo. Gusto mo bang tumaas? Gusto mo bang bumaba? You choose. Okay? Next slide, please. So, in my next slide, I'll be discussing, of course, yung merchandise pricing. Again, very important that you define your marketing, define your margin objective. Okay. So this one, okay, where are we? Ideal inventory. Okay. So for ideal inventory, of course, you have to take into account your store capacity, your promo considerations, meaning do we have any marketing plans in store planned out for this particular season? So you have to make a buffer for that. Also, you have to take into account your lead time ng supplier mo. So in my case, in my industry, ideally we have to store every 3 months. It's simply because we do replenishment every 3 months. I think in your case, since it's a fast-moving goods, maybe lesser. But ideally, pwede ka mag-buffer ng at least 1.5. So for example, ang lead time mo is 1 month. Ideal inventory is about 1.5 to 2 months. Okay? You don't have to take much inventory. Just try it. Kasi ayaw mo naman ng sobrang konti because baka magkaroon ka ng understock or out of sale, OS. Out of stock ka. Sayang yung benta. Okay? Next slide, please. So, yeah, as mentioned, the merchandise pricing, this is the last part of the planning part. Okay, you need to decide overall margin of your business. If you want 20, 30, it's up to you. So those products that you will be choosing will contribute to that particular margin. Okay, so yeah, that's it for the planning stage. Now let's talk about how do we implement. Okay, how do we implement the merchandising now that we've planned out the products that we'll be getting, that will be ranging. Let's talk about how do we implement this one. Next slide, please. Okay, now in terms of implementation, very crucial that we display our products very well. Okay, this is where visual merchandising comes into play. Number one, it increases sales by making a store appealing to your customers. If your store is very appealing to your customers, of course, enjoy yung mga customer mo to go to your store. Babalik at babalik sila. And number two, it improves your profitability by generating more margins. Kasi if your products are strategically merchandised, okay, later on we'll be discussing more of that. Number three, it controls costs by improving the productivity of the sales floor. Later, we'll be discussing these important things as we go along for visual merchandising. Next slide, please. As mentioned to you a while ago, very important ang visual merchandising because it appeals to your customers. Good merchandising makes shopping easier for customers. Okay? So, di ba? Lahat naman tayo. Okay? Kasi magbabayad tayo di ba? Magbabayad tayo, maglalabas tayo. We want to have an enjoyable time when we do shopping. And we want to make our customers enjoy their time in the shop. So good merchandising can also create customer loyalty. Like what I mentioned, pag nagustuhan nila yung merchandise mo, babalik at babalik kasi convenient sa kanila eh. At saka hindi sila mahihirapan mag-shopping. Alam nila, hindi magulo yung tindahan mo. So, diba? Good merchandising can promote repeat shopping. Next slide, please. Another thing good about visual merchandising is that it improves profitability. Okay? Like what I mentioned, merchandising also allows retailer to make strategic pricing decisions. Okay? So for example, we want our items that high in margin that we would like to push to create better profitability. We could create a highlight, di ba? At the pagpasok nila ng tindahan, ito yung unang nakikita, or pagpasok nila ng tindahan, naka-properly merchandise sa harap, ng pagpasok, yan ang unang makikita, then naka-highlight siya, di ba? Merchandising can increase your sales per customer if it's arranged to promote add-on sales. So later, we'll be discussing ano ba yung mga ways on how to do cross-merchandise. Na kapag binili mo tong isang item na to, itong item the other items related to this item, most probably bibilin niya yon kasi it's an add-on item or pwedeng impulse buy, di ba? So, kaya minsan nakikita mo sa counter, nakikita mo ang daming maliliit na items na mga naka-display doon. So, that's what you call mga impulse buy na pwede mong kunin kahit hindi mo naman pinlano bilhin. Okay? Merchandising also promotes self-service shopping. Like what I mentioned, if properly merchandised yung tindahan mo, di ba? Hindi na yan magtatanong sa mga staff mo. Automatically, they get to enjoy shopping inside your store kasi hindi hirap intindihin kung saan nila hahanapin yung gusto nilang bilhin. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. Another importance of visual merchandising is that it increases sales floor productivity. Okay. Productivity improves when retailers can increase sales using their existing sales square footage and number of employees. Okay, what do we mean by that? Okay, by suggesting add-on sales, like what I mentioned, for example, may item kayo na to. In this example, meron kayong cat food, for example. And pwede kayo maglagay siguro ng bowl ng cat food, okay, as an add-on item. Probably kasi nangailangan din sila ng ganung product, then it's an add-on product. Instead of them buying just the cat food, na-increase yung benta mo by putting that particular product on the side of this item. Diba? Okay, next slide, please. So, okay. So, next we'll be discussing the elements of merchandising. Okay? All of the elements of merchandising contribute to making a store more organized. Like what I mentioned, very important organize ang tindahan natin kasi babalik-balikan ito ng mga tao. Effectively use space, color, and lighting to encourage customers to buy. Later, we'll be discussing more of that. It plays a lot of factor when you choose the right color, you space it very well, and yung lighting, very important. Of course, ayokong pumasok ng tindahan na madilim. Diba? How can you see the product? How can you see the product that you will be buying? And of course, last would be a well-merchandised store is also a well-organized store. So yun, basically, it points back to that being organized. And people will start going back to your store. And of course, talk about na, okay, maganda mag-shopping dito sa tindahan na to kasi maayos ang paninda nila. Okay? Next slide, please. First part of the elements of merchandising is the sales floor layout. And you would notice, okay, example, you would notice that certain display modules are placed in a strategic way such that when you enter a store, you would actually go to the left or go to the right. Kasi merong may strategic reason why they do that. Na hindi ka basta makakapasok ng dire-diretso. Na kailangan mo dumaan sa kanan, pakaliwa, etc. It's because they want you to go to a certain direction for you to see the products that they would like to, may order of products they want you to see. Meaning gusto nila makita muna itong product na to, susunod ito, because this will actually tell a story, your store experience. Okay? May kumbaga arte sa pag-display or pagpasok mo sa isang tindahan. Hindi siya basta, okay, lahat ng items natin nandito sa kaliwa yung pang-pusa, nandito sa kanan yung pang-aso, etc. No. There is a certain story that we have to follow and experience for our customer. So we have 3 that we will be discussing today. Next slide, please. So you have the racetrack layout. So this is the common layout that you will see. Diagonal layout or power aisle. There's a lot more, but I'll be discussing just the 3 just to give you an idea on how to properly lay out your store. So in this example, you will see, especially if your store is diagonal, rectangular, okay, or square, okay, you have merchandise on the left, on the right, of course in front, and you would have something in the middle. So obviously, ang mangyayari sa yan is papaikutan mo yung product. So, with this kind of layout, this is the most common layout. Okay? So, basically, para kang nasa track oval. Makikita mo lahat, madadaanan mo lahat. Pagpasok mo, sa isang side ka, madadaanan mo lahat, makikita mo, palabas. So, yan. That's the usual. Next slide, please. The next slide naman is what you call diagonal layout. With the diagonal layout, this one particularly focuses on if you want to stress out on a certain product. Kung makikita nyo dyan, may flow of, it was specifically designed such that your customers would go to the right section, would go to the counter, and then go back, etc. So kaya siya designed ng ganyan para makita mo yung mga bawat items. Okay, case in point, pag pumunta kayo sa mall, have you ever wondered bakit yung some escalators are actually positioned as such? Bakit hindi na lang siya pare-parehas from ground floor all the way to the top floor, nasa isang side lang? Minsan nasa kaliwa, minsan nasa kanan, etc. It's because it fixes the traffic flow to ensure na makita mo lahat ng tindahan. In the same manner, inside the store, ganun din. Para makita mo lahat ng items to ensure na, okay, ma-highlight yung mga items na gusto mong makita ng mga customer mo. Next slide. Yung next slide naman, next layout would be what you call the it's the power aisle. Okay. The power aisle naman focuses on the center of the aisle. It very simple siya. It focuses on your items being displayed in front of you. Okay. From the word itself, power aisle, really focuses your attention. When you enter the store, yan at yan ang unang makikita mo. Okay? So, may double aisle ka on the left and on the side. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So, on the next slide, you will see, okay, an example of a power aisle. Okay, yeah, that slide, you will see the how it's being merchandised. So pagpasok mo ng store, kitang-kita lahat ng items na gusto mong i-highlight. That's what we call a power aisle. Right? Next slide, please. Let's talk about store design and presentation. Very important. How do we merchandise or how do we display our products properly? Okay. Yes, so there is interior signing, very important. There is signage of our products. Very important, our cross merchandising, the use of space, the use of color, and the use of lighting. Okay. Can we have the slide, please? Okay. Why is it very important? Okay. For interior sign, cross merchandise, use of space, use of color, and use of lighting. Interior signing, very important that we guide our customers kung nasaan yung product natin nakalagay. We don't want to go inside the store na, okay, nasan nga ba yung ganitong item? Nandito ba? Nasa kaliwa? Nasa kanan? Ang hirap mahanap. Very important that it is well organized, that meron siyang signages. Okay? Sige. Let's discuss further the interior signing. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, you will see that a lot. For example, sa mga super, may mga category signs sila, hindi ka mawawala. So in the same manner, in your store, very important also, especially first time nilang papasok sa tindahan, na naka-label properly yung mga categories mo. Okay, if you go to the left, you will see that these are the products, and on the right for the cats, etc. So when it's properly labeled, hindi mahihirapan yung customer mo. You give an easier time for your customers to shop. Next slide, please. Okay. Next element, after interior signing, of course, cross merchandising. Okay, how do we do cross merchandise? We do cross merchandise, okay, when we actually put two things together that are related. Okay. When you do that, okay, the possibility, okay, of a customer getting the other product is higher. Okay, kasi most likely, if for example in this example, you have milk, okay, and then cross merchandise by Oreo. So technically, people will actually drink milk and eat Oreo together. So most probably, instead of milk lang mo, kuha ko ng Oreo to complement the product. So this is the same thing that I was giving as an example a while ago. You display your product, related products together. Hindi naman kailangan lahat. Okay, like for example, ito, yung Oreo niya, meron siyang cross-merchandise display, pero sa section ng mga cookies or mga snacks, meron pa ring Oreo. So, kumbaga double display tayo. Nagdi-display tayo ng Oreo with the milk para magkaroon tayo ng cross-merchandise and magkaroon ng upsell. Okay, next slide please. So, in the next slide, you will actually see how it is being merchandised for pet products. Okay, you have, okay, example, yan, may mga pet food, nandyan din yung mga toys for the dog, yung mga pangngat-ngat nila, di ba? So, medyo related siya. So, instead of you buying just the dog food, bibili mo na rin itong isa. So, na-upsell ngayon, tumaas yung transaction value. Instead of the customer just buying this one, tumaas siya ngayon yung sales mo. So that's how cross-merchandising actually works. Okay, next slide please. The next slide focuses on the use of space. Okay, most common mistake that I see when I enter a pet shop, overcrowded. Okay, lahat ng items tabi-tabi, walang space for breathing. Yeah, may limitation tayo in terms of space, but you have to take into account that better spacing would give you better sales. Okay? So ngayon, pag crowded siya, hindi makakapili mabuti yung customer mo ng tamang items, then you will be at a loss, or yung customer mo, hindi nila mahanap ng tama yung items. So better if you space it properly so you can merchandise it properly. And the next element is, of course, the use of color. And in my example, you will see a while ago, certain colors would actually attract your customers to your wall. If you display properly your products accordingly, based on, siyempre may konting arte na yan, di ba? Pag maganda yung kulay, na-attract yung mga tao, titignan nila. Kasi the more a customer is closer to your merchandise, or yung point of sale, okay, ang chances niyan bumili, mas mataas. Okay? So, yan, let me read this. I think this is very important. Color is an important part of creating an attractive and effective display. So we have to take advantage of color in organizing displays. Like what I mentioned, you have to take into account also yung mga products na i-range mo. See? Dapat maganda rin siya on your shelf. Maganda siya inside your. So hindi lang siya basta, okay, lalagay ko lahat ng malalaki dito, lahat ng maliit dito. No. May, again, it's a science and an art at the same time. Maganda if you create a full blocking of color from top to bottom, makikita mo ang ganda ng assortment mo, and people will actually or customers will actually enjoy your store. So next slide please. So I'd like to show what I've been talking about in terms of use of space, use of color, and use of vertical blocking of your product, how it would pan out when it comes to pet products. Okay, you will see that from top to bottom, it's just one color. Like for example, all white, all yellow, or all blue. You will see yung ano ba, color. You will be attracted to the wall. So that's the main goal first. Mapalapit mo siya dun sa sa shelf para makita nila yung item. All right. Can we do the next slide, please? Okay, in my next slide, I want to talk about the use of lighting. Very, very important. Okay, I'm sure most of you guys watching right now, ang probability of entering a not so lighted store versus a well-lit store, ang chances ay papasok kayo dun sa magandang ilaw na tindahan, di ba? Ayaw nating papasok sa medyo gloomy, medyo madilim na tindahan. So make sure that your store is well lit. Maganda ang ilaw, maganda ang ilaw na nakalagay sa o nakatutok sa ano mo, sa mga produkto mo. Okay? Okay. Check out counter display. So these displays are typically filled with low price. So ito yung mga impulse buys. So make sure yung at the last possible area to sell is your checkout counter, yung pag saan sila magbabayad. Make sure you have may mga small trinkets, small items na pwedeng impulse buy. Okay? Sana either pwedeng nakalimutan or ano na pwede nilang ilagay sa basket mo. So dito mo siya ilalagay, dito mo siya i-merchandise properly. Huwag naman lahat i-display ng sabog. Dapat, again, may proper spacing, may proper blocking, and may color para kumuha sila, di ba? So, why is it yung checkout counter display working? Because number one, it reminds your customers of something they have forgotten, like what I mentioned, and they make good impulse sales because they put product in reach of customers. Okay? So, madaling makuha yung mga items na to kasi nasa counter na, sige, dagdag mo na lang to. Okay, ito, dagdag mo, di ba? So, you'll notice that a lot sa mga convenience store, di ba? Yung mga smalls nila, nandun sa may counter, ang dami. Kasi these are mga impulse buys. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay. Products to use. Choose items with the biggest impact as impulse items. Consumable items such as snacks actually work well. But in your case, you have to identify ano ba yung mga impulse items for a pet store. Seasonal items, pwede rin yun. O kaya you can also try unusual items na, okay, kakaiba tong item na to, bibilin ko na. So, something like that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now that we've tackled that element, which is yung mga displays, elements of displays, let's talk about creating effective displays. Okay, so ayan. So as you can see, ito yung slide na sinasabi ko kanina na may full vertical blocking, color coordinated. Of course, when you display based on the color availability for products, ang ganda tignan, di ba? Yeah, all blue, all white. From afar, although hindi mo pa makita yung detalye, again, na-attract ka. So I keep on stressing that kasi that's very important. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about creating effective displays. Okay, so merchandising is part art and part science. Okay, I've been mentioning that since I started the talk a while ago. The artistic portion relates the overall aesthetics of the display. So meaning how your display would look like with yung art part. Okay, so how the colors would blend together, how the things are displayed. It's how the display grabs attention, okay, and makes the product more appealing to the customer's senses. So again, that's the one side of having an effective display. There's also some science involved, especially when it comes to deciding what types of product work best in the many different types of displays you have available. Okay, kung itong product ba to mabenta sa area na to, or sa likod ba, ganda bang nasa harap siya? So there's a science to it. Okay, next slide, please. Things that I'd like to emphasize and highlight, of course, in creating effective displays is think vertical. Like what I mentioned and like what I have shown in my example a while ago, it is more effective to merchandise most products vertically. Take note, vertically and not horizontally. Mas visually appealing siya if colors are top to bottom rather than left to right. And of course, keep at eye level those items that are fast moving or ito yung mga best selling SKUs mo, stock keeping or items. So dapat nasa eye level siya and reachable at madaling makita ng mga customers mo. Next slide please. So in my next slide, you will see the think vertical and of course yung eye level portion mo. Okay, so yung eye level of course vary from kung gaano katangkad yung tao, but on a typical person, okay, your eye level would be your small items, ito yung mga fast moving items na makikita mo. So nandyan, ilalagay mo sa eye level kasi madaling makuha, madaling ma-purchase, okay? And you will see vertically, ang visually appealing siya. That's what you call the think vertical. Okay, next slide, please. Very important naman, aside from visually appealing, another factor that you have to consider is yung gaano kapuno yung products mo. Okay, have you ever been to the supermarket and you see that the products are not properly merchandised? Kulang-kulang yung stocks, butas-butas, okay? Hindi siya visually appealing. Pinakamaganda niyan, dapat parating puno yung items mo. Okay? So you have to make sure na puno yung items mo and properly displayed. And then, of course, yung shop and compare, meaning meron kang meron kang cheap, medium, and expensive. So para makapag-compare sila, items ang pwede nilang kunin. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay. Signage, very important. Last of the few tips that I'll be giving is signage, very important that we call out the categories because kailangan ma-organize properly. We give them an easier time when they do shopping inside your stores. And last but not the least, yung price. Okay? Of course, maganda may disclosure yung kung magkano ba yung item. Diba? It will help them decide whether should I get this item or not kasi naka-display na yung price. And for most, ako personally, I hate shopping na okay, hindi ko ma-identify magkano ba yung item na. Kasi of course, some would have a certain budget in mind, di ba? So, yun, maganda naka-display yung price din natin. Right? So, next slide please. So, showing a sample execution of our display. Okay, for example, that one. Okay, may proper signage kung ano yung product na yon and naka-display din yung presyo. So it will give you or your customers an easier time. Okay, ito yung presyo, ito yung item, organized siya. Okay? And I think that's about it. That's the last part of my slide. So I hope everyone actually a lot from my talk, and I hope you get to apply what I've shared with you. So thank you so much for listening.
Okay, thank you so much, Xavier. Ano bang tunay mong pangalan? Ang dami mong pangalan kasi. So, but yes, thank you so much. And it's a long presentation, but very, very insightful. I have one question, because I've been to a lot of pet shops, and this seems to be the burning question. Most of
Yes.
the pet shops that we see, whatever their space is, whatever their retail space is, no, kung 20, 30 square meters ba yan, yun na rin kasi minsan ang storage room nila. So that's the difficulty. I'm sure you've seen a situation na gano'n, na parang kung ano yung retail space nila, yun na rin yung warehouse. Yun na rin yung storage. Kaya minsan talagang up to the ceiling ang merchandise. So it's not really a problem to do it vertically, as you were saying earlier. But what would you recommend for those retailers na talagang kung ano lang yung space nila, that's it. That's where they accept deliveries. That's where they store everything else. And that's also their retail space.
Okay, well, number one, they have to take into account also yung lead time ng replenishment. Kasi kung mabilis naman mag-replenish yung supplier natin, then you can probably store lesser stocks inside your store. So hindi ka overcrowded. You will be displaying just the right amount of products based on your sales target and based on your forecast. Kasi yes, I've been to a lot of pet store. I'm a pet owner also. I've been going to several pet stores, and that's a common thing that I've noticed. Overcrowded. Okay.
Correct.
Ang daming naka-display, and in fact, one of the comments that I would like to share nga yung nakikita ko parate sa window nila yung mga cage ng aso, yung mga ano, 'di ba? Which is hindi dapat kasi
Correct.
well, you use your window as your display, as parang billboard mo na yan eh. Pwede mong
Correct.
for advertisement. So you highlight certain products, but going back to your question, it's either yun nga, we get to minimize yung products na kasi maliit lang yung store natin, then we try to taper down. I would suggest na wag tayong kumbaga parang try
Trigger
nating
happy sa pag-order.
subo natin yung more than that we could chew, 'di ba?
Yes.
Kasi at the same time, if we properly merchandise our items, ganun ang balik eh. Bibilis din naman ng ano niyan eh. Bibilis ang galaw niyan eh. Makakabenta ka. Di order ka na lang ulit.
Yeah.
Diba?
And the consumer experience kasi shopping in a very crowded space, it's not really very good, diba? As you were saying kanina na parang madilim, masikip, halos feeling mo bababagsakan ka ng bag sa ulo anytime. So very, very, ano yun, parang lahat ng effort mo nawala because it's not really a conducive shopping experience that the pet owner will get once you get to a store like that. Yeah. Are there any more questions, Sue? So you would suggest while we're waiting for Sue, so one is for them to check what is the delivery lead time for suppliers. Number
Yes.
two, would you suggest for them to delist some items, and for those that are not, what would be the threshold na parang okay, ito hindi tumatakbo to 6 months na, i-delist ko na ba tong SKU na to or pagbibigyan ko pa? What is the threshold?
Actually, the
If there's something like that, no?
Yes, it would actually depend on the item. If it's a good that is being consumed, obviously 6 months is actually a lot, meaning long rather. It's very long.
Yeah.
Kung 6 months na hindi gumagalaw yung kunwari pet food nyo, well, it's time for you to delist that one. For example naman, example yung mga consumer goods, for example yung
Things that don't expire, kumbaga.
o pag nag-expire yung life cycle niya, of course you have to shorten yung ano, 'di ba? Kailangan mo i-delist niya kung ganun katagal. Now if some items like yung kunwari lalagyan ng pagkain ng ano, dog container, yung kainan ng aso, okay, longer ang product life cycle niya. So seasonal yan, maybe ang season yan every 6 months. So it would also depend on the product life cycle. So kung within one life cycle hindi pa rin gumalaw, it's either you can give it a chance or completely delist the product already.
Okay, that's good.
Hi guys.
Maybe we can have one more question.
Isa na
We
lang
can
daw
wrap
na
up.
question. Ma'am, may tanong sila. So, Sir Save, magkano raw ba dapat yung visual merch budget nila para sa isang small na tindahan?
Okay. So yung visual merch budget meaning
Halimbawa pang shelf ba yan or siguro mga signage, ganyan,
okay,
for a small store?
Yeah, technically the visual merchandising budget will fall under your marketing budget. And ideally, some would actually at least sa consumer goods probably nasa 6 to 10% o baka 10% is actually high in terms of budgeting ng marketing kasi
5%.
5% yes. Okay, of the 5%, yun yung total budget mo, mag-allocate ka siguro doon ng siguro 1 or 2%. Kasi syempre, majority of your marketing budget would be on your communications and promotions. So, but then, I also suggest siguro mga 1 to 2% budget on your visual merchandising.
The 1 to 2%, just to clarify, is based on your sales, no? That's what you
Yes.
mean. Baka lang hindi nila ano yung 1%, ano yung 2%. So if you're generating 500,000 a year, then 1% of that should be reinvested in the shop, no, in the business, and set that aside for next year maybe, and then spend on that particular purpose. If it's merchandising, if it's a signage, if it's a metal rack, or dedicated displayer. So percent of your total sales yung percent na sinasabi ng ating speaker. So just for them to yep.
I'd like to add
Okay.
something. Siguro if especially for those business owners na magsisimula pa lang, they will be investing specifically on visual merchandising. Obviously, your percentage would go higher. Parang investment mo yan and then mo na lang siya, amortize mo yan all throughout the years. Kasi kung mag-allocate ka ng at least 1 to 2% initially on your first year, obviously you won't be able to merchandise your store properly. So, example, baka pwedeng at the first year, budget ka ng 10% for example, tapos amortize mo na yan on the succeeding years just to have your proper merchandising display or visuals inside your store.
All right.
Or last one, just to add on that, or requests from brands, no? There are a lot of suppliers that are providing metal displayers and even the signages, no? So at least they can co-brand. At least it's gonna be easier on the pocket. So Maxim is also open for that kind of arrangements with the trade, no? All right. So I think that's it. Sue?
All right. Thank you very much, Xavier. Thank you, Miss Blessy. Medyo mahaba tayo ngayong
Oo nga, mahaba pa sana, no? Marami pa sanang
kami
kwentuhan.
natutunan today, Sir Save. So, thank you very much. And thank you for all those who stayed until the end. And hope to see you soon for our next talk. Maraming salamat. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening.
Bye. Oh, good evening.
Bye, everyone.
Oh,
Thank you, Xavier. Thank you, Sue.